The video closes by pulling everything together without offering comfort. The narrator asks whether this is coincidence or community, whether silence protected people or simply delayed consequences. With cooperation rumors swirling and investigations still unfolding, the audience is left staring at a widening web. The narrator makes one thing clear. This story didn't begin with one man, and it won't end with one either. The real question isn't who's guilty, it's who's been protected, who stayed quiet, and who might still be waiting their turn to be named. And as the pressure builds, viewers are reminded that the most dangerous truths aren't hidden, they're shared by too many people to disappear. If there's one thing people know about 50 Cent, it's this. He doesn't jump into mess unless he's holding something heavy. So when his name became attached to the Soulja Boy conversation, the tone immediately shifted. This wasn't trolling from a distance. This was 50 hinting that he knew things, and more importantly, that he had proof. He spoke calmly, almost casually, but made it clear he keeps records, paperwork, receipts, the kind that don't disappear. What caught everyone's attention was his reference to certain parties, specifically Diddy's. Not just the public-facing events everyone knows about, but the ones whispered about afterward. The ones where attendance wasn't photographed and phones stayed away. According to Street Talk, Soulja Boy wasn't just present, he was comfortable there. And when 50 hinted that Soulja's name appeared in places it shouldn't have, people listened. Because when 50 speaks, history says something usually follows. And whatever he was hinting at, it sounded like it went far beyond industry networking. Before Soulja Boy ever became the focus, Meek Mill was already caught in a storm. A leaked audio clip circulated online, grainy, unclear, but disturbing enough that people rushed to assign a name to the voice. The internet decided it sounded like Meek. No confirmation ever surfaced, but that didn't stop speculation from spreading like wildfire, especially not when people remembered how close Meek and Diddy once appeared. Matching outfits, poolside videos, private encouragement caught on camera. Lines like, "You deserve it," and "You put in that work," suddenly sounded different under a new lens. Insiders began speaking in riddles, referring to a Philly rapper in legal paperwork, carefully redacted but obvious to anyone paying attention. Former associates hinted that the relationship went beyond mentorship. So when Soulja Boy mocked Meek using those same rumors, it felt bold, almost reckless. Because once you weaponize a rumor, you invite people to examine your own past just as closely. What many people forgot or ignored was that Soulja Boy had his own connection to Diddy. At one point, he was allegedly in talks to be signed. That deal never happened, but proximity remained. Around that time, Soulja was openly spiraling, heavily into substances, visibly unstable and vulnerable. According to whisters that resurfaced later, Diddy didn't just offer opportunities, he allegedly offered access. Access to parties, indulgences, and protection. People started saying Soulja was being kept close, supplied, and controlled. Nothing concrete ever surfaced publicly, but the pattern looked familiar to those who'd watched similar stories play out before. When you mix fame, addiction, and power, boundaries blur fast, and once those rumors gained traction again, Soulja's insults toward others suddenly felt like projection, because the louder he talked, the more people wondered what he was trying to drown out. The situation escalated when a man known as William the Baddest went public with his own claims. Speaking carefully but clearly, he described an encounter with Soulja Boy that left him shaken. He didn't brag, he didn't joke. He spoke about fear, real fear. Fear of what happens when substances wear off and regret turns into rage. He explained how these situations often unfold under influence and how the aftermath can be unpredictable and violent. What disturbed people most wasn't the intimacy being implied, it was the danger he described afterward. The idea that once the sun comes up, someone might try to erase what happened the night before. William said he worried about his life, and that kind of fear doesn't sound rehearsed, it sounds lived. Then Jaguar Wright did what she always does. She said everything out loud. No filters, no softening. She claimed she had seen explicit footage involving Diddy and Soulja Boy. Not heard about it, not assumed it, seen it. She connected it to similar claims she'd made before about Meek Mill, claims many dismissed until other pieces began lining up. Jaguar described a pattern: young artists, compromised situations, recordings used as leverage. She even tied Nicki Minaj into the wider narrative, suggesting she knew more than she ever said publicly. As always, critics called Jaguar unstable, but supporters pointed out a troubling trend. Many things she'd said in the past were later quietly confirmed. Whether people believed her or not, one thing was undeniable. Once she spoke, the story stopped being funny, stopped being gossip, and started feeling dangerous. Soulja Boy didn't stay quiet. He went live and denied everything. He accused Meek Mill of paying William to lie. He insisted the entire narrative was fabricated for clout. He said he had no issue with how anyone lived, but demanded his name be left out of it. Yet his response was emotional, defensive, and scattered. To many viewers, it felt less like confidence and more like panic. He doubled down, pointing fingers everywhere, but never fully addressing why so many unrelated people were telling similar stories. And the more he talked, the more people noticed contradictions, because denial is strongest when it's calm. And this wasn't calm. Soulja Boy didn't stay quiet. He went live and denied everything. He accused Meek Mill of paying William to lie. He insisted the entire narrative was fabricated for clout. He said he had no issue with how anyone lived, but demanded his name be left out of it. Yet his response was emotional, defensive, and scattered. To many viewers, it felt less like confidence and more like panic. He doubled down, pointing fingers everywhere, but never fully addressing why so many unrelated people were telling similar stories. And the more he talked, the more people noticed contradictions, because denial is strongest when it's calm. And this wasn't calm. Which brings everything back to 50 Cent. Is he trolling? Possibly. He's done it before. But people can't ignore his timing, or his history, or the way he moves when he knows something is coming out anyway. Rumors now say his latest Diddy documentary includes details that connect all these names, that Soulja Boy isn't just collateral, but part of the story. Fans are divided. Some say it's all exaggerated. Others say the anger, the slurs, the overcompensation from Soulja look like self-hate. And the question remains unanswered. Is 50 exposing truth or simply pulling the curtain early? Either way, once questions like these surface, they don't disappear. They wait, and eventually, something answers them.